To begin our installation, we're going to start off by removing a few parts of the bike. The first thing you're going to do is go ahead and take off the seat and set that aside. Then we're going to go ahead and remove the luggage rack, whether it's an aftermarket or a stock rack, it doesn't matter. They both come off the same way. We're going to remove the 4 bolts that are holding it onto the bike. And then go ahead and set it aside. The next step is going to be to remove the plastic cowl, and it's being held on by 2 bolts, one here and one here. Remove the bolts, and then you can put your hand under it and wiggle it out, and it comes free. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the black plastic cover. That'll give us easier access to the wiring. And to do that, you'll see if you follow it down, right here and right here are 2 bolts. If you remove these, you can then pull this cover off. With the bolts removed, grab it at the bottom, lift up and pull down, and it will remove. With the black plastic cover removed, it gives us access to this area here. You'll see 2 large wires going to 2 connectors that are pushed into a piece of foam. There's nothing holding this down. Just pull on it and the connectors and the piece of foam will come out. Let's go ahead and slide those back in. And then just push it off to the side. With that piece of foam removed, you'll see a bolt with a nut on it that's holding a looped piece of wiring. We're going to go ahead and remove the nut so that we can get that wiring loose. And then you're going to try and not do what I did, which was drop the nut. If you can't get your fingers in there to grab it, inside of the toolbox, if you take the tools out, there's 4 bolts. You can remove these and pull the toolbox out of the way, and that'll give your hands a lot more room. Or you can use a pair of needle nose pliers and go ahead and grab it that way. And then set it aside. Now you'll be able to reach your hand in and pull on it until this looped fastener comes loose. And then just go ahead and pull the wire out of it and set this aside. And now you'll see that this part is free. I've gone ahead and flipped the camera around to make it a little easier to see. And the wire that you just removed the fastener from, if you push up from the bottom, you'll be able to see what other wires it's connected to. Just pull it up and disconnect it from this clasp, and that'll give us easier access. If you follow that wire, you'll see a black connector. If you don't see the black connector, you're going to see a black piece of plastic that's holding a whole bunch of wires that are used for the taillights and the blinkers. What I've found is the easiest way to get access to these connectors is by taking a razor blade and very lightly making a slit in it, so that way you can pull them out and get access to them. At this point, we're going to go ahead and start connecting our system. So the first thing we're going to do is, from the kit, we're going to go ahead and get our Y connector with the 3 black connectors on it. On the bike, the wire that we just pulled free has a black connector. We're going to remove it by pressing on this side and pulling out. And you'll see that we now have a female connector and a male connector that are disconnected. Let's start by attaching our first Y adapter, and we're going to go with the female side. You can tell it's the female side because you can see the 3 prongs and it's open. And we're going to go ahead and snap this into the connector that we just disconnected. The best way I've found to do this is to pull it up so that the corner of it is resting on the piece of metal, and then push on your Y connector until you hear it snap. If it's hard to push in, it's because of one of the little pieces of brass connectors might be off, and if you look in and you don't see that they're all perpendicular to the base, then just use a screwdriver or your finger and push it so that it's straight up. Now, if we look a little further down in, we'll see a green connector. Go ahead and disconnect that one. Grab the green Y connector from the kit, the female side, and plug it in. And then finally, having smaller fingers helps. Or you can also reach down from the bottom, from the other side, and push it up. And you'll see a white connector. Go ahead and disconnect that one. And then your white Y connector set, the female, go ahead and plug that in. And that was one of the hardest parts there, just getting access to all these little plugs. Go ahead and grab the other part of the kit, which includes the light bar, the modulator. This is what controls the speed and frequency of the flashing for your brake lights. And then it also has color-coded connectors like the rest of the system. At this point, we have all 3 of our wire connectors connected in. Let's go back to our greens. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to connect either end of the males to the green from the bike that we disconnected. Both of these are exactly the same. It doesn't matter which one you choose. And then with the whites, exact same thing. 2 white connectors, both do exactly the same. Connect one of them to the one you disconnected from the bike. And that leaves a green and a white. And these are going to connect to the light bar to control our blinkers. So go ahead and get your light bar that was included in the kit. And you'll see a green and a white connector. Connect these the same way you connected the other ones. White to white, green to green. And now you have your blinkers all set up for your system. On the other part of the light bar, you'll see a black connector, female, has only 2 wires connected to it, a white and an orange. When we connected our black Y adapter, you'll see that you have one plug that has a red, a white, and a black, and then you have one with a black and a red, only 2 wires. Right now, we want the one with just 2 wires. And we're going to connect that to the connector that was on the light bar that has only 2 wires. The other end of this connects to the other part that you disconnected from the bike. So you'll see your black connector with the 3 wires connects to the bike's black connector with the 3 wires. And we are almost done. If you look at the brake light on the back of the bike, you follow it down, you'll see a black sheath which is covering several wires. You want to go ahead and take your razor blade and lightly slit it open. You'll see it's already been done on mine several times. And you're also going to see a blue wire. What we're going to do with this, yours is not going to have this red connector. Mine has already been cut, so I just needed it together to show you. You're going to take a set of wire cutters, or you can use the razor blade that you previously used, and you're going to cut the blue wire in half. So then it's going to look like this. 2 sides. Now we're going to go ahead and finish up the last part of the wiring. And you'll see, as we talked about earlier, there's the modulator, which controls the speed and the amount of flashes for your brake lights. And attached to it, you have these red connectors. And what these will do, if you unscrew the end that doesn't already have the wires, what you do is you put wires into it, turn it back tight, and it'll hold the wires and connect them to the ones that are already connected. Now, this makes life a lot easier. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to take the one attached to the red wire, and as you can see, I've already loosened it up. And we're going to want to take the blue wire that we just cut in half, the part furthest from the brake light, and we're going to slide it in. And you're going to be applying pressure on the wire towards the connector as you're turning it so that it stays inside. Tighten it up, finger tight, and make sure that your wires don't come out. That connection is done. You only have one left, which is the one that's attached to the black and orange. Loosen it up and attach it to the other end of the blue. Go ahead and insert your wire, tighten it up, and check your connection. If all your connections are done and tight and looking good, we're going to go ahead and test the light. At this point, you can go ahead and turn on your bike just onto the accessory. You don't need to actually start it. And as you can see, the lights are on. These are your running lights. Go ahead and pull on your brake lever. And you can see that I have mine set for just a few flashes before they go solid. Next, test your blinkers. All right, this is really important because you don't want to have it blinking on the wrong side. All right, it looks like everything is working. So now that we know that everything is connected properly and working, we can go ahead and turn the bike back off. And now we're going to start cleaning things up, tucking wires away, and making it look good. Let's go ahead and start putting parts back on the bike. We're going to take the black plastic cover that we had removed earlier. We're going to put that back on. Take it to about this point and slide it up until it seats itself into position. And you're going to want to go ahead and put the 2 bolts back in that you took out earlier. To make things look nicer, you can go ahead and take some black electrical tape and wrap it around your wires. Keeps everything nice and tidy and looking good. When you complete doing that, take the cover that you removed earlier and you want to position it underneath. Have the wires for the light bracket going through the center and slide it into position. There we go. And then there are 2 bolts holding it into the final position. Before you put your luggage rack back on, you're going to want to take the alcohol pad that was included in the kit, flip your luggage rack over, and clean this really well. That way when we adhere the light bar to it, it'll have a better connection and it'll hold on better. Let's go ahead and let our light bar just hang freely. Put your luggage rack, whether it's the stock one or an aftermarket one, back into position. And start putting the bolts in place. Now we have all our bolts in and tightened up. Before you attach your light bar, one more time, turn on the system, check your blinkers, make sure that the left blinker is on the left side and the right blinker is on the right side. Remember, this is VHB tape, this is permanent. So you want to test fit it a few times before you go ahead and remove the film and stick it on. But it's designed so that the tip of the center of the bracket is going to line up in the center of your luggage rack. And you'll see that once it's into position, it'll hang a little on this side, it'll hang a little on this side. And then once you have a feel for how it's going to go on, go ahead and remove that film and carefully get it into position and hold it for 1 minute. You can hold it longer if you like. And then you're going to need to give it some time to cure.